All right, we're gonna get into another one today. You think I was gonna make an hour and 20 something minute video? It was cut short, by the way, believe it or not. Because my cat caught a bird outside and destroyed this feather on the carpet, so I had to go clean it up and end the video early. So, but I wasn't gonna make a long ass video and not make a follow up with solutions to all the nitpicks I did to all the quote unquote issues that I think the game has, because that'll just be a pretty dickless thing to do. Is like criticize the game and don't have any solutions in return. Pretty fucked up in my opinion. I have passed my my standards of swearing at the start of the video now. So I'm going to go break down every single big issue the game has and give solutions. And I'm probably gonna skip the giving the issue part. I'm just gonna bring up the issues like, hey, this is an issue. This could be the solution. So as many of you might have presumed, is that, hey, this guy hates Ninja Gaiden. It's like, no. If I hated Ninja Gaiden, I wouldn't spend a better half of 2 years, pretty much, advertising the game without being sponsored or anything. I just advertised the game. I fucking read every article that was ever written down on it. I broke down every frame of every video that came out before the game was released. I did pretty much content for everything that was on the game. I love this game. And the reason why I criticize it is because I just want it to be better. I simply just want this product to be better at the end of the day. If I hated it, I'll drop it like other games I dropped, like Destiny, Overwatch, like, the trash, pretty much. But this game I love. I want to see more of it, and I want to see better of it. I really do, because it's such a cool game. It has so much potential, and I really, really love the mechanics in this game. I love parrying. I know it's like the industry with action games has turned into a little bit of a parry slop. I get it. Everything has parry now. And before you fucking bring up Sekiro, educate yourself, you dumb bitch. Parrying was officially introduced in its current form all the way back in Onimusha. Not Sekiro. So if you use Sekiro as an example, you must be a young one. And we don't tolerate youngism in my channel. I'm joking, of course, but because, the Sekiro era is the quote unquote modern era of like parrying, is people are associated with that, even though it's been established and it's been in that form ever since the East Encounters and parrying in Onimusha 1, which is a game probably older than most of you listening to this. Now, the main thing I'm going to bring up is just some of the issues that when I said the game shoots itself in the foot by having these in it. If it didn't have it, it would be better. The main one, and the very controversial one, and people kept asking me, like, why didn't you address it? And it's because I was waiting to do a follow-up video like this for it. It's been the scoring system. I know a lot of people get, hey cat, stop it. A lot of people get really bent out of shape when I compare this game to Bayonetta, or especially Devil May Cry. The DMC comparison, anger, and seething syndromes have been a thing with the NG community. Every time we compare NG to the DMC, it's like you killed their whole family. They hate you for it. And it's like, I understood that up until 3 Razor's Edge. I got it up until that point where, yeah, NG and DMC are nothing alike. They're action games, they're hack and slash games, sure. Fundamentally, they're nothing alike. Nothing. The characters are not the same, the gameplay is not the same, the structure, so nothing was similar besides the fact that there are probably the top 2 coolest hack and slash games on the planet. Right? But then 4 came out, and it tried its ass off to be DMC, specifically DMC4 in narrative, right? And this nonsense here is platinism, or platinumism, however you want to say it. This is the touch of platinum, right? This scoring system, don't get hit, don't use items, don't die. These are all things that only happened because Platinum put them in there. I do appreciate the fact that the only 3 things that ever mattered on the traditional Ninja Gaiden scoring system, which is how did you kill your enemies, UTs, what was it called, obliterations, and quick succession kills. I forgot what the official name for it was for the scoring thing, but kill chain, I think, or something like that. Kill chain and all that. And then how many of the enemies killed and your clear time. These were the most important thing in a scoring system in Ninja Gaiden every time. You get Master Ninja, like you get the Master Ninja rank and all that on NG1. NG2 had pretty much the same thing. NG3 changed it again to modernize it a little bit. Instead of giving you Master Ninja rank or Ninja Dog and all that, they just give you S rank, which is a homogenization of the modern or more better known scoring system universally for just awarding you, not awarding, but grading you. Like S rank is like the coolest thing. Well, they kept that, and it's triple S, which has never been a thing in Ninja Gaiden. Where is triple S the most known for in the hack and slash genre? Smoking Six Stylish. It is Devil May Cry's signature with grading you with triple S. There is no single S in this game. There's no double S in this game. There is either triple S, A, B, C, D. I'm not even sure if there's an A. There's an A. Hold on once. But yeah, triple S. Straight out of Devil May Cry. Why is it straight out of Devil May Cry? Because it's the top dog of hack and slash. It is the most well known. It is the most how do I say? It has the biggest spotlight on it, right? Even though it has less games than Ninja Gaiden in total, if I'm being honest. It actually does have less titled games than NG. Because NG has, Black, Sigma, and all that. DMC just gets the special edition, and that's it. But anyways, my point being that this itself, the reason why I'm bringing this up first is because this is what's causing a lot of my nitpicks with the whole game. I wouldn't have a problem with getting two-shotted, and I still would, but it wouldn't be such a big deal getting two-shotted in the game, aside from the fact that balancing it is shit, and the game itself is just not designed around enemies doing that to you. Hard mode is fine, because when the system messes up, when you don't get your wind path buffering to come out, instead you get a heavy, if you get a normal slide, or just a normal jump, or you just don't even do anything, right? If you don't get your flying swallow and you get a heavy, sure, you get hit, you take a bit of damage, but you can recover from that, right? Because you don't take all your health as damage. You don't take half of it. You take a quarter, 10%, 20%, 15%, 30% at most if you get hit by a boss. But in Master Ninja, when the system messes up, when the system is at fault here for ruining your flow, you get punished for it, and bam, you lost score. Now you died, or you had to use an item. Your score multiplier goes doan, right? Of course, you use the untouchable, but that's nerd stuff, right? And that is the biggest problem the scoring system has in this game, because universally, the NG has always been, yeah, the combat's brutal. Here's your tools. Use them when you're supposed to, correctly, sparingly, and you get through the encounter. And then you buy more stuff, buy more items. They never penalized you for dying. They never penalized you for using items, because the game was designed balanced around the way to force the player to utilize items. I hate using items, right? Overall, because the MC player, you always get punished for it, so you never use it, right? So, but in NG, the game was utilized around it. I used items when I had to. But my only option to survive was use items. I used items, swallowed the pride, because the game was designed around it. You were getting hit for half your health by a normal ass enemy because you have 6 healing items in your belt and a revive. Reuse them, recover, get back into the fight. You use Nimpo, use the item, get it back, get some free kills. You had that system. But when you take that balancing, right, and you bring it into this game, and then you penalize the player for dealing with, and try to keep up here. Back in 20, when did 2 came out? It was 8, right? 2008. Yeah, it came out on 2008, right? So 2 came out in 2008. That game didn't used to hit as hard. There was a lot of enemies. You can get swarmed really fast, but you didn't used to hit as hard. Well, let's be fair. I'm going to keep Villaina out of this, because Villaina is actually balanced good. It just has shit enemy waves, but the balancing of the game is fine. Let's go to Sigma. Let's compare the worst of classic NG to current NG4, right? In Sigma 2, you get hit, most of your health disappears, right? But you can still use healing items, right? The pace of the game is much slower than NG4. Your movements are much slower. There's a lot less canceling. There's a lot less recovery frames. So you commit, or I should say more recovery frames, so you're in recovery longer in that game. The pace of the game is much slower, the pace of Ryu is much slower, the enemies are slower, but they swarm you at the same time. But it's not the action per minute from all the enemies in NG2 Sigma. And I know you guys hate Sigma, but I'm just using the worst example, and the people view Sigma as the worst NG ever before they started hating on 4. Is that the action per minute, per second, per whatever you want to say, it's way less in that game than this game, right? So if anything, this game would need to compensate more for the fact that there is going to be way more room for error because the action per minute from the enemies is much faster, right? Granted, to compensate for that in 2 different ways, they give you much, much more variety of healing defensive items, right? And on the fact that your characters are both kitted out big time, and you have much more mobility. Not that one. This one. No, that's a different one. You have much more mobility to go around, to move around, to schmove around, to maneuver, to not get hit. You have all these tools, but at the end of the day, the game is punishing you for using your essential tools of survival, right? You have the parries, you have the perfect blocks, right? You have those. Those are your defensives now. Those are your extra defensive abilities. Because before, your main defensive abilities in NG2 and NG3 even were you either use iframes with OTs, UTs, Nimpo. You either try to shuriken cancel and control one enemy. In 3, you could multi-shuriken shuriken throw with the 360 shuriken, which is a move that I greatly want back. And you had, the ability to just win path guillotine throw. You still have those abilities here, right? But again, action per minute for the enemies has gone much, much faster. And on top of that, you have unblockable attacks. You have a limited block. It's not certain moves breaking your block, you just have a limited block in total. Again, to compensate for that is that, okay, you can block most attacks now, besides the unblockables, from any enemy. Bosses, big enemies, Vangels, anything. As long as it's not a grab, you can block it. But you limit it to 7. And that's cool and all. But you still forget the fact that the system can absolutely mess you up. You get the perfect block, right? And I'll use this as an example of where's the dysfunctional loop. This is unlisted. If you want to go watch it yourself, go watch it. Where is the parry sequence where I completely my hopes and dreams were shattered and I lost my... I think it was here. So this is a perfect case of the system messing up. The system doing something it's not supposed to do, and the player gets punished for it. So here, I came out of my iframes, and because block buffering is the first action that takes priority over, dodge and all that, I got the Gleam parry because I heard the guy come in. I had headphones on. I heard the guy come in. I was like, okay, I need to parry this. I need to do something to block this because I won't be able to dodge out of it. Gleam parried it, right? Both enemies are within my range. The other guy is in red attack, so he's going to be broken. There's 2 dogs outside. Gleam parry goes up. I'm mid-air. Before I come down, the dog that was lunging... Go back a little bit, just so I can pinpoint the exact moment where my heart rips in half. You see that dog just lunged? This guy. This guy just lunges, right? While I'm mid-air. And then on my way down, instead of him getting hit, the game is designed to prioritize the enemy's hitbox before the hurtbox. So their attack comes out before their body does, if you want to know a term. Hitbox being their attack frames, hurtbox being their body frame, where you can hit them. In this case, in the dog's bite or lunge, his attack frames came out first, somehow bypassed the fact that I was still in the middle of this move, right? And I got hit by it, and this could have been the end of me. There's like 6 different problems here. Number 1, why is the enemy's... It's a bite attack. So if anything, his head is in the way. Why is his bite attack hitbox bigger than his hurtbox? It's the part of his body. He should have absolutely got caught in this before hitting me. Number 2, why did I get hit? I'm doing a perfect parry Gleam attack. Or Gleam perfect parry, I should say. And this attack has full iframes, for the most part. And it's aerial. So my hurtbox shouldn't even be on the floor at this point. The attack hurtbox for the player should be first. The reason why the properties of the player should have advantages like this is because there's only one of you multiple enemies. So you would have the frame hurtbox and hitbox advantage in this case, where your attack frames should come out first. But we'll get to the attack frames of Gleam and how horrendously designed they are. Blood Raven is absolutely fine, but the Gleam and the Shadow Gleam form, well, there is just something wrong with the hurtboxes and hitboxes with this thing. It has a lot of issues. They're way too small. And dedicational, I should say, too. But anyways, point aside, many issues in this scene. And this is one of the cases where the system absolutely fails to do things the way they should be. My solution to this specific thing would be to have iframes for Ryu till the player can actually take control of the character. This will be the equivalent of you taking damage trying to do Nimpo. Which some of you are insane enough to be like, yeah, that's fair. Which, sure, the player can base around it, but Nimpo has universally been your let me take a breather action. Same with Guillotine Throw and Izuno Drop. It's just, Izuno Drop is to reassess the battle floor to see where the enemies are. Nimpo is to get rid of something while you're trying to reassess everything on the battlefield. And like, UTs and all that do the same thing pretty much. It's your breather moment because the game is so fast-paced. You need to create these situations where you can reassess and, get back into the fight and knowing what to prioritize. But when stuff like this happens, that goes out the window. You don't have control over your character when you're coming out of iframes in pretty much every situation. Nimpo ends, you don't have control. The only thing you can do is block initially. That's the first thing you can buffer. And guess what? Enemies don't de-aggro you like before. In NG2, NG3, when you use Nimpo, the enemies will idiotically, admittedly, would spin in circle, pretty much. They just do their movement ability. They'll stop attacking you because God knows why. And you just hit them. They're literally sitting ducks. I mean, what would you do if you saw someone conjure up like a fucking meteor or a black hole and try and toss that shit? You would run the other way, of course. But like, in this game, when you initiate any type of iframe, the enemies time their attack. The only case of this situation resetting with iframes is OTs. That's why doing wind blades is probably the best UT you can do, and they can still attack you out of it. And the same situation can occur of you, buffer and block before anything else, before you actually get full control over your character. Is when you do wind blades, everything gets delimbed and you just go on an OT spring. It's really easy. It's really safe, risk-free almost. Besides the fact that you have to initiate wind blades and survive out of coming out of it. It does waste all your meters, so you wouldn't be able to gleam block most of the time. And that is, again, a massive issue. And I feel like there needs to be like a major reassessment of the frame inputs. My initial thing, well, we added a later date because I'm still talking about the scoring system, but I had to go on a tangent here to explain that, that shit's horrible. I'm just going to leave this last one. Okay, so my solution for get rid of this DMC Bayonetta crap would be just completely take out items and death as a factor into scoring. It was never there. There was a very, very, very valid reason why it wasn't there, because the game system was designed around you dying and getting punished many, many times. So you had to use your tools. That's why there's 40,000 boxes around the place for you to be able to use healing items from encounter to encounter. This game missed that point. While I love having these, but for like flex purposes, it's like, hey, I can do this. Can you? Especially when people start criticizing me, it's like telling me, it's like, what the fuck's talking about? I'm like, bro, you can't even do half the shit I'm doing. Why are you telling me if I don't understand? But fair enough. These two gotta go. Because this exists. Untouchable exists. If you're untouchable, you don't need these. These are artificial as fuck. Granted, this whole thing is artificial as fuck. It's a fucking JPEG. Nobody gives a fuck about it. Too many swearing. It's none of these numbers, none of these matter, right? But to the eyes of most people, this can be a mental motivation or a mental block. For me, if I die during a mission, that's a mental block for me. I don't die during missions. I shouldn't die during a mission. I should be good enough to be able to go through it without, dying. So I'll just do it regardless. Why? I don't need the game punishing me for this, right? And that's just an example. Other people see this. It's like, hey, like I just got a D on this. I am ass at this video game. I'm never going to play it again. I'm going to go play I don't know, Fortnite. Because in that game, there's no scoring system. You just get kills and get rewarded. You get the XP. This game doesn't have anything like that. Matter of fact, you can't even get any more scored. Caps out at 9999. But like, point aside, I think if you remove these two from this and just score the player based on this and this, techniques and amount of enemies you killed, clear time. You do it based on this, half the problems in this game would not be a problem. When the game messes me over, I'm like, oh, shucks, I'll just try it again. It's fine. Just like I used to in NG2, just like I used to in NG3, Bridge's Edge. So this is a problem. I think like if they remove that, that'll be fixed. Now, the next one, well, this was the artificial punishment part I talked about. Gleam and Bloodraven I did touch upon early, and if you do need a example of what I'm talking about, here's a problem with Gleam specific, not Bloodraven, with Gleam. For some reason, the Dragon Sword has to go through 6 different steps to initiate a attack that breaks guard. For some reason, this thing has smaller hurtbox than anything. A Shuriken has a better hurtbox than Gleam attacks do. Some Gleam attacks, like your starting square light attack Gleam, has no hurtbox. It is grounded, like it hits floor, and it stops at chest high. If an enemy's hurtbox is above your chest, Gleam is not gonna hit. I'm over exaggerating a little bit. It is pretty much like your whole height. If they're above your height, case in point, this is the Berserk attack. You literally have Ryu and Yakumo teleporting around in a straight line, multiple. How are they not hitting head height? My goddamn head is literally touching her toes. Yakumo is into some feet fetish here, and nothing is connecting. Why is that a thing? Right? Easy solution. Extend the hurtbox. This fucking thing should be a sphere of hurtbox, not each and every line. There should be a sphere around it, right? Every time the teleport comes in, an attack registers inside that sphere. Instead of like, oh, this small, it's a hurtbox, and this other teleport hurtbox. No, just make it a fucking sphere. Because every other Berserk attack, what's it called, Bloodbath attack, and True Dragon obliterations. Well, True Dragon obliteration that's the issue with it. But like every other Bloodraven attack, it is a sphere. It is a straight hurtbox. It is a cone in front of you, depending on what weapon you're using. Why is it this one gets shafted because the hurtbox is reactively different each time? It's nonsensical, and not the fact that you just die if you miss that. And for people that have had the misfortune of fighting this boss, this fucker, when he flies 2 feet up in the air and he tries to do his shield attacks, good luck trying to break his guard with Glim. Good luck trying to break it with Glim, because you will not be able to hit his leg. You have to do the jumping heavy, or like a back forward, which is slower. So his back forward and 360 Gleams are very slow, because not only Ryu has to initiate a normal move, which Yakumo never has to do. Yakumo's weapon do not need to do. This is just a Gleam problem. You do any Gleam. You do a non-charged Gleam with Yakumo, breaks the guard. You do a whole charge Gleam with Yakumo's whatchamacallit, his I know the name of the weapon, but I forgot the name. But his drill. You do a charge attack with that, it breaks on every hit. Every spin that thing does, it's breaking. With his shuriken, same thing. With his staff, hammer, same thing. As soon as it hits, whether you perfect charge it or not, it still breaks. Same with the scythe. That thing multi-hits in the AoE and it still one hit breaks. For some reason, Ryu has to initiate a melee and then do that. And situations like this, right? Don't look at this, because this time I hit it, I have missed this on the same timing thousands of times. Ryu has no way to interact with this Gleam with this red attack distance. He has no tools, even with his new weapon. This footage is from base game. Even with his new weapon, I have no way to hit this. Inferno is slow. It doesn't lock on from this distance, and it misses. It actually can miss. The reason why I opt to Piercing Void is because at the very least, it creates a straight line in front of me that's going to hit if he makes contact with it, which I got super lucky here, because most of the time he just passes it. If I do it too early, shit like that happens, where he just sends it into the air. Why? Because you can't aim Nimpo. Why can't you aim Nimpo? Itagaki-san and Hayashi-san both know the vision with this is that Nimpo needs to be aimed, which is a funny thing because Inferno can be aimed. You can spin around with Inferno. Why couldn't they just implement the same mechanic that's already in NG4 and every other Ninja Gaiden before it on the rest of Ryu's Nimpo? And this is why the Ryu aspect of this game gets on my nerves, because I really feel like they unjustifiably just didn't pay enough attention to him. They neglected things that they half-ass worked on. We'll get to that later. So it just upsets me that you already went through the trouble of implementing an aim system for his Nimpo with Inferno. Why can't I do that with the other three? I mean, Phoenix, you don't need to aim, to be honest, but it would be nice to be able to turn my camera to see what the fuck's going on most of the time. Same with Piercing Void should be essential to aim that thing. That thing has always been like it. Piercing Void is as good as the player. If you can aim it perfectly, you can clear the whole room. If you can't, you miss, you get no rewards. Now it's just, hey, you better hope Ryu locked on at the right frame. Otherwise, we're just going to hit an airplane. There's a JTB, I was on a stream earlier, and he nimpoed, and Ryu just shot in the air. And missed everything. We clipped it. The clip is still there. I probably should go find it, but like, problems, right? And as I said, he doesn't have any ways to deal with aerial like attacks. If an enemy is in the air, what can you do with Ryu besides Nimpo to get them out of it? And I'm not talking like a little bit in the air. I'm talking like, you know, that height. Ryu cannot hit Gleam here. You have to do the jumping heavy, which is very slow because you have to manage a jump. You gotta hope you're not holding forward to and accidentally do swine swallow. I've done that mistake many times. And then it has a downward hurtbox that could miss, and the forward hurtbox that which is grounded, so it's still not gonna hit the aerial enemy. And the this pisses me off a little bit more because of his second weapon had the potential to have Gleam attacks that fix his range problem. But not only they don't have Gleam attacks, they don't even have dedicated Gleam attack. It's just the same thing as Dragon Blade. So the same issue still persists. All they needed to do was just animation shifted, man. Let me throw out my Scorpion, get over here, and just have Gleam properties of it so I can break enemies' guard as distance. It was going to be that simple. I wouldn't even ask for, like, I would be mad if they didn't, but like I'd at least, at the very least, if it had range Gleam property, I'll be happy with it. But here we are, I guess. That's my gripe with Gleams and all that. Back to footage so you guys have something to watch. The next issue I was going to bring up was the Hurtboxes. I already, again, touched upon it a little bit. Hurtboxes on Gleam are just bad. Hurtboxes on some attacks are just really bad. This game has all the magnetism in the world. You could be half across the stage, you press 4 attacks, you'll be all the way in your opponent's ass, right? Same with the enemies. The enemies just track you. They don't give a fuck how you're moving. They'll just track. They'll stuck to you. Everything in this game is it's designed, and I know this for a fact. Everything in this game is designed like it's a 1v1, right? But like it's not, because there's only one of you and there's like 6 enemies on screen. But they are fighting you like it's a 1v1. They're tracking you like, you know, they're the only enemy fighting you. And then you have 6 enemies that almost never miss their attacks if you don't. If you're not moving like, you know, perfectly, you're gonna get clipped by something. Whether it's gonna be bullets that have a conal shape that can map you and stop your momentum for any distance, whether it's enemies doing fully tracking, multi-hitting, unblockable attacks that you cannot block if you get clipped. You just get stunned, and then somebody else clips you because obviously they're not gonna miss. Or the spear guys are infamous. You guys love the spear guys. When you're in the air, right? They do their dive upwards attack, and like you're half across your screen, and this fucker is in Africa, and somehow that clips you and knocks you out of the air. Granted, the spear guys don't do damage, thank God, but disrupting you into a stun lock for other enemies to kill you is just as bad. So, Hurtboxes for like everything in the game needs to be fixed. Hurtboxes on enemies needs to get like fucking like chill, man. Like chill. Look at this shit. Look how far she is with me, and I still initiated the backlash. Right? That shit is insane. Some other enemies, and I wish I had an example here, but some of the enemies, like Kagachi is being one of them, the Hammer Girl, Siri, yeah, I don't even know how to pronounce that, but like, her hammer form or her full form, dude, I can't even express how nonsensical it is. She jumps up in the air, right, to double slam you. It's a Gleam attack, or it's a red attack, so you have to Gleam it to break it or dodge it, right? When she's in the air, her ground Hurtbox is active, so you can backlash the ground while she is fully in the air at the peak of her height. I wish I had an example to show, but I don't think I have any footage of that, because usually when that happens, shit goes south for me. So I might, you know what? Let me skip this footage. I might have it in the next one. Let's see if I can bring it up while we're going through this. But yeah, enemies' Hurtboxes are way too nonsensical, and it directly translates into the next issue that can be fixed in this game. So, with Hurtboxes, you can just make it more precise. You don't need a big fix for... I backlashed. Never mind. She was going to do it, but I backlashed it earlier. But anyways, with Hurtboxes, just make it more accurate. Just make it more representative of, what the enemy is doing instead of Unga Bunga. Same with your character. Your character's Hitbox and Hurtbox should be much bigger than what it shows, or at least match what it does. In most cases, you want it to be bigger because, again, there's one of you, multiple enemies, so you want your character to be able to deal with the multi-hitting factor. That's why that's why UTs in 2 were like insanely massive. They will hit everything around you, and this is because they wanted to compensate for the fact that the game is throwing everything in the kitchen sink at you all the time, so you need a way to fight it. So that's an easy fix in my case. Fixing the Hurtboxes wouldn't even take that much effort on a developer's part. Pretty sure the Katana, if this is on Katana engines truly, it shouldn't take that much effort to just adjust the Hurtboxes and Hitboxes on both the player and the player and the enemies. Now, which comes to my next problem. You're seeing me parry easily, but don't be fooled. The parry windows, the perfect windows, I should say. The perfect backlash, perfect block, fatal flash, whatever you want to call it, are way too strict for how little reward you get and for how inconsistent the enemies react to it. So, and again, in most cases, right, an attack is coming your way, the Hurtbox is on you while the enemy is still half across the world. It is really stupid that you just cannot in any way predict a movement. You have to do it by trial and error to get the timing down. Then you get the muscle memory, then you get the feel of it, whether it's by sound cue, visual cue, anything it is, you get it down eventually. But that's in a 1v1, right? A perfect parry in this game, in this high-speed action game, right, shouldn't be as tight as it is. It is 3 to 5 frames, and if you have the charm on, I think it extends it by another 2 or 3 frames. So 7-frame parry window. I already talked about reaction speed, right, in my previous video, with average human's reaction time being 180 milliseconds to 700 at slowest, usually, unless you have a disability. No bash on it. If you have a disability, you have a disability. Nothing wrong with that, but that could hinder your response time even further. Whether your fingers are not working most of the other people, or your eyes don't pick up stuff. If you have disabilities, all these become into a factor. But let's not, I don't mean this disrespectful, but let's take disability out of the equation and just go back to the average human, quote unquote. If your reaction time is 180 to 700 milliseconds, the parry time you have in this being 3 frames to 7 frames maximum is bad. Why is it bad? Because the reward is bad. Why is that need to be good? Because situations like that, most of the time you get it by accident. I can promise you I was not trying to parry there. My camera immediately turned, my reaction kicked in, I was like, oh, got hit, I'm gonna hold the button down now. I wasn't trying to perfect parry, I was just trying to not die to the next hit. This came out accidentally. Completely accidental. I'm not gonna take this is no reaction on me like, oh, I'm gonna perfect parry. No, this was accidental. Most of the time when it comes to a group situation, perfect parries, backlash parries, fatal flashes come out by accident, unless you're fishing it out. Unless you see your enemy doing an animation that you're familiar with, that you have seen before, like Vangels swinging frantically, or the DDO soldiers doing their up slash then downward slash, which is the easiest thing to fatal flash in the game. or like really slow attacks you can see you coming from a mile away, you're not going to set up parries for those because the timing's too tight, and if you mess it up, your run's over. It's not worth the risk. You risk losing the whole fight to get rid of one enemy. And your reaction time needs to be within, your response time needs to be within 7 frames. Dude, fighting games are not that strict, and that is a 1v1 situation. Doing a perfect electric in Tekken takes 13 frames of input. 13 frame of input. That's double the amount of time you get to do a parry in this game. So I'll be okay with if they need to, and I'm not saying they should, they need to increase the parry window to at least 15 frames for everything across the board. Perfect blocks, all that. Because again, your block has limitations. There's just so many times you can risk blocking, trying to get a perfect parry just for the game to be like, no, you missed the timing for it. Sorry, bozo, try again. They need to change that. They need to increase it because again, it makes no sense. As compensation, of course, you could make the reward less. Maybe you don't get the insta deal in. But again, I feel like because it is a 1v many, it needs to reward the player for doing something as risky as that, because 15 frame is still tight. Even 20 frames would be tight, but it would get ridiculous because you can insta-kill most enemies with Fatal Flash. Other problem being Backlash Parry. For some reason, when you do a Backlash Parry, it doesn't give you the same property as Fatal Flash does. Fatal Flash gets an instant deal on your triangle. On your Gleam, it doesn't sometimes. And Backlash Parry, despite being harder to do and cost resources to do, doesn't give you the instant dealing. It just gives you the essence and like a small AoE, inconsistent AoE, which Kagachi doesn't give a fuck about. He just completely blocks or dodge out of every single hit. Another issue with that boss specifically, I feel like they should readjust how he blocks and dodges, or completely disable it. Because holy fuck, man, I don't know why he plays the way he does. I could bring up footage for that actually, but I think we'll get there eventually. Whatever. I'll probably just bring it up later. But anyways, back to the video. The parry and blocking, I know some of you are be like, no, I like it the way it is. Like, yeah, sure, you like it because you don't know how better it can be. You're settled with it. You've adjusted to it, right? If it would be easier a little bit, just slightly. If I say slightly, I'm asking for it to be twice the window, but it's because it's that dire, right? It's like 15 frames is still a tight ass time, but 3 frames is ridiculous. Like, I'm gonna use the DMC situation here, right? Royal Guard in DMC3 is brutal to do. 3 frame window, and good luck, right? But there is ways around it. You can buffer up a roll or even jump iframes to actually get a perfect iframe before you can block. So you're going from iframes to perfect block frames and then to normal, of course, which you don't want usually. So you rollblocks in DMC3 mostly. In DMC4, the roll is a little bit more stricter than that, and you can't really cancel as good. So you just do jump royal block, jump royal release, and same with 5. They kept it the same across that. So you have different ways to use iframes in your advantage before you can get a perfect block. This game doesn't have anything like that because, again, the game takes priority on certain actions after you come out of iframes. So if you want to utilize iframes to set up a backlash, you can't do it because, block is the first thing you do. So if you try to go for a block, you better time your Gleam at the same time, which is hard to do. A little too hard to do for how inconsistent it is. And this is coming from someone that does parrying for life. Like, it's my thing in every game. It could be a fighting game, it could be anything. Resident Evil, Devil May Cry, fucking Tekken, anything I play, perfect parrying is my thing. So when I say that it needs to be a little bit more lax, is because for a fact I know it's unjustifiably strict. If it insta-killed anything you hit, I'd be like, okay, 7 frames would be fair, but 7 frames to deal in one enemy when there's this many around you, most of them do range attacks, so you can't even parry those. Little too strict, and I think that could elevate a little bit of the problems. Like a lot of the encounters could be much more lax if you could you know, sacrifice some moments of your momentum to get a parry off of a Vangel or the Mecha Soldiers or like the I forgot their name. They have a weird name, but the big ass guys or the Shuriken DDO commanders. They're pretty troublesome. You sacrifice a bit of your momentum to try to time perfect parry, perfect block, something to delimb them to get rid of them, and then start your momentum back up. That will be nice. But in its current state, your best chance of getting perfect block setups is getting it accidentally, or again recognizing animation, which is unfortunate. I do think that's really boring when you get accidental parries and you capitalize on whoop, oh, look at that shit. Press button. It's kind of ass. So, I feel like they should make that a little bit more lax. That's my opinion on it. If you like it that way, I guess you like it that way. And iframe adjustment I talk about. And okay, so I know a lot of people and a specific person, I will not name you because I don't want to name people on my stream or the video, brought up that I am unjustifiably comparing DMC and NG together. Sure, I already used a whole bunch of examples to why they're similar, but the main reason, one of the biggest reasons why I dislike the Abys Road in NG4 is because it is downright trying to be Bloody Palace. It's not trying to be survival, which is already the quote-unquote Bloody Palace mode of Ninja Gaiden. You just get into an arena, you fight, you survive, right? There's none of this, oh, you kill 5 enemies, go to the next level through a portal, kill 5 more enemies, go to the next level, and there's a boss at level 5 and 10. That's DMC, man. That's literally Bloody Palace. It's always been like that. Every 10 levels, you fight a boss. You kill a bunch of enemies, you go through a portal. That's not survival. Survival was not like that. It wasn't just kill like 5 enemies and move on. No. The only similarities the Abys Road has to the Ninja Gaiden Survival is the green essences pop up, man. That's it. I'm glad there's no timer on it. This is not Abys Road. This is a Ninja Trial. Brownie points, by the way, for the Ninja Trials. I said it many times, by the way. They've nailed the Ninja Trials in 2 Masters. Absolutely love all of them. I don't like the Master Ninja difficulty ones with the first 2, EX1 and EX2. But, like, they're cool. Mainly because I hate this arena. I'd be falling off this shit like I'm an idiot all the time. But anyways, skill issue on that one. But yeah, anyways, back to the point. The survival mode is trying too hard to be Bloody Palace. And it didn't need to. It did not need to. Again, NG had 2 established survival mode that was like perfect for NG. That's why I'm saying this game is trying to do a lot of like Bayonetism and Devil-May-Cry-ism in it. It's like, and it doesn't fit. I think fuck the story with Yakumo and Ryu being literally Dante and Nero. Like, screw that. Like, I'm not even comparing that. It's just even in mechanics, it's trying a little too hard to be that. The weapon switching, I welcome it, but active weapon switching is Bayonetta's and DMC staying before most other games. Like, even in like God of War back in 2007, it was like you have to go to the menu and select the weapon, then you switch it in the menu. You don't actually select the weapon switch actively on the battlefield. It's a modern thing that, again, Devil May Cry did in the hack and slash genre back in 2005. Even DMC2 had it, like you have to go to the weapon, to the menu to switch it, but not like those weapons were different anyways. It was just different damage and hurt boxes. Anyways, getting off track. And the one thing, this is to address a comment on, I might have to make a different video on it on Twitter for this, but I have been told that I've been rough a little bit on Ryu's second weapon. And I would agree, and I will admit to the fact that I might have not labbed it as much as I should have before dismissing it. But my dismissal of... Well, I haven't dismissed it. I'm doing it. I'm going to do a full stream today with using only that weapon to see how it works fully in a setting. But the problem I have with the moveset of the characters is that most of Jikutsumon's moveset are rehashed animation from either Yakumo or Ryu himself. His OTs are literally the same thing. Most of his strings are literally the same animations. The properties that Jikutsumon gives you, as someone was nice enough to show me videos, I might bring it up. I don't know. I don't know how he feels about being in the video, so I might not bring it up. But I'll rather just ask for permission before I do. But the moveset of the weapon adds a lot of properties to Ryu that he doesn't have or had before, and it is helpful to him. It is practically giving him like a 40% boost to his depth, right? That's not why I dismiss it. My dismissal is the fact that I'm comparing it out. I'm comparing the weapon to the whole entirety of Ryu's history. Because when you look at the vacuum of the NG4, it's like, yeah, Ryu just got almost a double depth increase because of his second weapon. He can now grapple, he has a safe evasive move that's free and all that. He has all this stuff that he got with that weapon. He can pull enemies to reposition them, he can pull yourself to them to reposition yourself. Yes, it has a lot of tools and it gives him a little bit more AoE control and better launches and such and such and such. It does do that. But when I dismissed it and say that it is an embarrassment, well, I don't think I'll say that was an embarrassment of a weapon. I just said it was half-assed. The reason why I say that is because what it offers to Ryu only feels good in this game. If you would have put Jukutsumon in NG2, especially NG3, it would be a joke of a weapon compared to the rest of his weapon. It would absolutely be a comic relief weapon. Because the pull ability, Kusarigama had it already. The pull towards or going towards, you never need that in any of the NGs. Shit, you don't need it in this game. Ryu magnetizes to everything normally with every attack anyway, so closing distance in NG has never been a problem. Right? Reposition enemies, he already had that again with the Kusarigama. He never needed that. Evasive moves, you have that, but he has a cool one now in terms of a move set instead of a movement. Which again, I know a lot of people like using move sets to evade. You know, when you do judgment cuts, you backstep with it. When you do 360 moves, you go through attacks. In NG judgment cut is for DMC example. You know, I get it. Dancing with moveset instead of movement feels so much more better. It's like so cool to look. People dance with movesets instead of just running around jumping like an idiot. I get it. I get the implications of fantasy there. And it's useful. I'm not saying it's not useful. But even if you compare Jikutsuma to Yakumo's weapons in terms of quantity, it's a little bit underwhelming. They already were using rehashed movements and animations from Yakumo from Ryu to make that weapon flourish a little bit, stand out on its own, which it doesn't. If you were already reusing animations, why couldn't you just give it Gleam moves? You could have his little pole stance Ryu does with the Jikutsumon. They could have. I might be able to pull it up because I actually do test out all the moves in this one. You could have just give that move a Gleam motion. Let's see if I can bring after those fights. Cutscenes are cool. Cutscenes in Master Ninja are really cool. But if when it comes up, I'll bring it up. But the moveset Ryu has with this is like mostly just animation swap from Yakumo. But yeah, no Gleam as you can see. But his Gleam attacks could have just been, give him a range attack that breaks enemies. They could have done that, but just didn't. I buy the moves and I think I test them out here, and I really want to show which one I'm talking about, the one with the pole arm stance, because that one could have easily been exactly what Yakumo has with his main sword. He does the pole arm stance, and then you swing your sword downwards with a Gleam or the Blood Raven attack to break enemies. They could have just given that to Ryu. He could have literally did the same thing, just spin around with your blades out and have a Gleam attack. I would have been okay with the weapon having back, forward, and 360 Gleam attacks exclusively instead of normal attacks. Fine, but give it something to deal with the actual problems that the enemies pose. Range enemy, far distance, I need to deal with a Gleam attack. I don't have enough for Nimpo to do Inferno or to do Piercing Void that you cannot fucking aim most of the time unless you're locked on. Right? You can't do those. I need a smaller cost move to deal with that. Ryu still doesn't have that. Right? He doesn't have an AoE answer for clearing out multiple people trying to do unblockable attacks, which does happen a lot. Or blocking, multiple enemies blocking. You want to break all of them or just stagger all of them so you can do something. Because the AoE control with Ryu is not a thing, which is fine. Not like he needs it. I think the only game he's like ever had like big AoE control was NG2 with the Lunar Staff 360 Impo. And I guess Graveyard Spin, but I kind of disregard that whole move. It's too overpowered in 3. I don't like considering it into the gameplay. But anyways, but just apart from the point is that in the vacuum of NG4, his weapon does give him a lot more depth than he had beforehand. In the grand space of Ninja Gaiden in Ryu's kit, it is a joke in comparison to NG2 and NG3. That's my disappointment with it. It's that at bare minimum, I wanted to have 2 alternative strings, just like his Dragon Blade does in this game. I wanted to have unique 360 and back forward motion Gleam attacks because of the amount of issues that would have solved with long range enemies. Imagine if you had a back forward triangle heavy Gleam attack that just sends out his blade, grabs an enemy that's doing a block or a guard attack, you drag them towards yourself. So not only that enemy is stunned because you broke them, now they're within range for you to combo and get rid of the issue. None of that is a thing. You send out your blade out there and they block it, you know, you just stand there like an idiot ready to get hit by someone because you're in recovery. I feel like the weapon is just underutilized. That's the part that's getting on me a little bit with this weapon. Maybe when I'll use it today on stream, it'll be a little bit more eye-opening experience for me. But as it stands, not only did it didn't hit my expectations, I don't think it did a lot for the character either. Sure, it gave him a whole bunch of stuff he could have used, but let's be honest. Like, come on now, it could have been so much more within the realm of this game. It could have been so much more. Because again, comparing it to Yakumo's Scythe, AoE control, he practically has a round trip now with his range attack and his thing, and it takes care of a lot of issues. Multi-hitting, AoE control, grouping abilities, so many properties in just one of his weapons. And then what does Ryu get? Close in, close out, iframes for free, which he can do that with a lot of other moves anyways. But again, I get the appeal of moveset evasiveness instead of movement evasiveness. But still, anyways, those are some of the main issues with this game. Narratively, I can't get into it, but that's not my business. I'm not here to talk about narrative. Narrative only is in the hands of whoever writes it. If this one is the opinion piece, so if you want to click off the video already, have fun. Opinion piece on narrative: include Ryu as the main character and have side characters in the mainline series. Because if I could use Ragebound as an example, spin-off wasn't about Ryu. People fucking love Kenji. Kenji, whatever his name was. People love him. I think it's Kenji. Right? People love him. He's a cool character. He plays alright. He has his uniqueness in there. And like, it's not about Ryu. It's a spin-off, so it's about a different character. This game was named NG4, and it was not about Ryu. It was a retelling of Ryu's experience with the dragon, Dark Dragon, with another character. So it wasn't even technically an original story because the format was literally the MC4. The story premise was NG1 / Dragon Sword. You just had a different character. I don't know. Again, this is an opinion piece. This is just me spitballing. I don't know if Platinum was trying to make an impression that, hey, we can also do cool stories like this. Please give us a chance. I don't know if that was the intention with Yakumo's and the way his story unravels. But when you're doing a mainline NG, you better make Ryu the focus of it. Sure, the characters may be washed out on story details. Some people might say that. I don't say that. I think you can always do more with a cool character like this, especially when he's so enigmatic and, like, you know, quiet most of the time too. There's a lot you can open up with him. Just don't do it like NG3. Here's my slander for NG3. But anyways, there's obviously more wrong with the game that can be fixed. I said it in a tweet. I said to fix up this game and to completely shut out everything I took issue with, it'll take about 1 to 2 months and 6 people of just working on 6 core people in the team to work on the coding and changing all the properties and all that stuff to make it function. You know, the scoring system, it needs to be in Ninja Gaiden, not DMC. I'm not playing a mission to Ninja Gaiden to get DMC scoring system or Bayonetta fucking pure platinum runs. It doesn't fit this game. It doesn't. Not when they're trying to keep the philosophy of NG2 and 3 and 1, less so 1. 1 is a little bit more fair still in the damage intake you do with the encounters. When you try to keep that philosophy and add a scoring system from a whole different franchise into it, it doesn't bode well. It crumbles on itself. Yeah, cool, pretty numbers and letters on my screen at the end when you do good, but then you realize when you can't perform, when the game doesn't let you perform, when you're not in tip-top condition, when you're rusty, whatever the reason might be. That's when you realize, wow, the scoring system is really fucking annoying. So, but at the end of the day, doesn't matter. There's no trophy related to it. There's no unlockables related to it. There's no reason for you to get a good score into this. Which brings up another issue. Unlockables. What the fuck happened? Man, this is opinion piece on my end. This is not shit that should be fixed, but again, this is an opinion piece. I feel like not having unlockables in the game when they've always been there universally is a big shame. I get it, and I've said this before again in a tweet if you've not seen it. I said that in game development, usually in franchises, the first game is usually the testing grounds. The second game becomes the grand idea, and the third game becomes the execution of those grand ideas. Case in point I can give you would be pretty much every Mega Man X game, besides X6 and 7 and 8, because holy fuck. Well, X8 was fine, but 7 and 6 were oof. In most movies too, right? Star Wars, I can use an example. You know, Empire Strikes Back and all that. It's like this grand thing. It's like, okay, everything's big now. Everything got serious. And the third one, you execute that idea of like this grand thing can be dealt with. But that's movie narrative. In the video game prospect, you have God of War 1, God of War 2, God of War 3. God of War 1 was the idea of, Kratos hates the gods. This is why he hates the gods. This is the premise. We're in the Greek mythology and all that. And 2 becomes more focused. God of War 2 becomes more focused. So like, okay, this is his objective. Now he got betrayed by Zeus. Now he has a new goal. He's not being accepted by the gods. And now he's going to break down their whole kingdom because they betrayed him, right? And then the third game, they executed that grand idea on a much vaster scale. Like insane scale, even compared to 2. And it's arguably the best God of War all around there. You might like 1 more, you might like 2 more, but when it comes to all around quality, 3 is the best God of War still to this day out there. Like Ragnarok in 2018, God of War didn't get a chance for a third one. There seemed like they're fumbling it. Whatever, anyways. And NG would also fall into the same category if the thing with Itagaki didn't happen and he was forced to leave. Because NG1 was the idea of a modern action 3D Ninja Gaiden, and it was amazing. For a 2004 game, it was fucking amazing. I know there was better competitors at the time out and or soon after, in 2005 especially. But like NG for its time was leagues beyond a lot of other games. Vastly. And then 2 was like, yeah, we're gonna up those even further to an unbelievable like quality. With adding OTs and all that, it was like just insanely more complex and had so much more stuff to offer narratively and just gameplay wise, especially gameplay. And the excitement you would get just for playing NG2 back in 2008, whole different thing, right? And I can only dream of what NG3 would have been if Itagaki was still at the helm, but unfortunately, Koei Tecmo was not their best. They had a Capcom moment back in the early. A lot of companies had Capcom moments apparently back in the day. But anyways, you get the point I'm trying to make. All I'm saying is that this game is the first of possibly many high potential video games that can come out. If this was their testing grounds to make 2, to make 3, or I guess to make NG5 and NG6, the next triple entries into the franchise. If this is this good, if this is this satisfying, if this is this amazing, I can only imagine the absolute monstrous, amazing game we'll get if the franchise continues, which I can only hope that it does. I feel like NG should have a permanent place in the gaming industry. It should be a game that releases every 4 to 5 years. Just like many other games, but sadly, We know how the industry is. Everything's too expensive, and unless you make the most amount of money, it's not worth investing in. Right now, everybody wants to make the most amount of money, not some amount of money. They want to put their time into something that's going to literally net them the best amount of resources, right? So I don't know if we'll see more NG. I don't know if there is more NG. I don't know who's going to do it, but I want more Ninja Gaiden. That's all I want. Whether it's remake, whether it's a continuation, I just want better, more fair, and more polished Ninja Gaidens. A little bit smoother too. But if I can give this game the biggest praise systematically, it is flawless. You can run this thing on toaster computers, right? Doesn't take too much space, doesn't stutter, runs 120 FPS like butter. It has amazing graphic. So it's everything about it technically in the. Oh, sneeze is coming. Sorry. Everything about it on. Pardon me. Everything about NG4 on a technical like built up level is flawless. It is really flawless. There's barely any bugs in this game too. If I'm trying to give it points. So what's left here is just polish up and fix up some of the issues it has, and we're golden. Most of the issues will be subjective, most likely because of your point of view and your experience, depending on what level you play the game at, might be vastly different from mine. Because if you don't go deep into it, you're gonna miss out so many things, right? You might be deeper into it than I am, so maybe most of the issues I say might not be an issue to you because you're just used to it. That's how you see the game. That's how you identify the game as, right? Or you could just be a casual that's like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? What is backlight? Who the fuck is Ryu? It could be that. You could be one of those guys. You could be that green about it, and none of these are an actual issue to you. But they're there. Whether you pass them or whether you haven't encountered them, the issues are there. What I want to achieve with this video and the one I made about my final thoughts is I just want those issues to be minimized. I'm not bashing the series or the game because I don't like it. If I didn't like it, I wouldn't bother with it. I love it. I want more of it. I just want it to be better. But I don't want to repeat myself over and over again. So with this was my how to hypothetically fix the issues with this game. Because as I said, if I'm criticizing it for things it did wrong, it is only fair that I myself contribute to how to make it a little bit better, how to give it a little bit more layered, how to make it more consistent. It's only fair, because if you just open your mouth and criticize something, that's very easy and simple to do. Same with praising it, right? But if you have to do that, personally for me, I have to have solutions. I need to have ideas. I don't like this. How do you fix it? I don't know. You figure it out. That's again dickless behavior. That's why I brought up most of the things here to be like, these are possibly fixes for like the Hurtbox issues. Just fix the Hurtbox. It's like literally again, like there has to be a rule book for like game design. It's like, hey, main character Hurtboxes need to be OP'd. Enemy Hurtboxes need to be either precise or less than precise in favor of the player, not the enemy. It's like those things are a thing. Like indications on the floor, the visual effects needs to be smaller than the actual Hurtbox, or visual effects need to be bigger than the actual Hurtbox. Like there should be like a bro code in game development for those type of stuff. But there isn't. That's why I'm bringing it up. Anyways, this game's awesome still. It is still a fucking solid 9 out of 10. As a video game. As an NG, that score varies depending on your experience. I'm not trying to fucking rate it right now. I'm just saying that it's a good game. Worth the purchase. It's on sale right now. Go fucking grab it. Go play it. Don't listen to my ass. Just go experience it yourself because it's worth the experience. And maybe this is why I suck. I just jumped off the map. Anyway, I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This has been Dark Angel. Sorry to yap your heads off 2 days in a row. Have a great day. Have a great week. And I'll see you guys next time. I'll see you guys in a bit with the stream. Bye-bye.